When Grandma was still a young maiden, a blind fortune teller once visited their village. It was a hot afternoon, the sun blazing overhead, and a group of idle villagers were chatting at the threshing ground. Suddenly, they saw a figure slowly approaching from a distance. As the man drew closer, they could see he was dressed in a faded indigo robe, wearing a worn-out straw hat, and leaning on a polished bamboo cane. At the top of the cane hung a small bronze bell that rang with every step he took, clear and crisp. Ding-ling, ding-ling. Strangely enough, the blind man wore shiny black sunglasses, yet his footsteps were steady, effortlessly crossing ditches and ridges. The blind man found a clean spot in the center of the threshing ground, sat down, put his cane aside, and gently shook the bell in his hand. Though the bell wasn't loud, it seemed to possess a kind of magic, quickly drawing the curious villagers into a circle around him. Though not as entertaining as a monkey show or an opera troupe, a fortune teller was still a rare sight in the village, and everyone gathered around for the novelty. Someone asked out of curiosity, "Master, how much do you charge for a reading?" The blind man tilted his head slightly to listen, then answered in a loud, clear voice, "It doesn't matter how much. Half a piece of flatbread is enough. 2 silver coins aren't too much." His words made everyone burst into laughter. The price was cheap, but his demeanor carried an air of mystery that made people respect him all the more. In the crowd stood Aunt Lee, who had been worrying over something for days. Her elderly mother had recently fallen ill, though she had recovered somewhat. Aunt Lee was still anxious about whether her mother would pull through. Now, hearing of the blind man's supposed skill, she couldn't resist. Pushing through the crowd, she approached the fortune teller and whispered, "Master, I'd like to ask about my mother's lifespan. I'll give you her birth date and time." She softly recited her mother's birth details. The blind man began calculating, his fingers moving and drawing patterns in the air. After a moment, his face grew solemn. He sighed and said, "Alas, your mother passed away this morning at the hour of the dragon around 7 a.m. She couldn't overcome this misfortune." Aunt Lee's face changed instantly. "Impossible," she cried. "I visited my mother just last evening. She was fine talking, laughing. How could she have passed away so quickly?" Though panic rose in her heart, she forced herself to remain firm, retorting, "You're nothing but a fraud and a charlatan." The surrounding villagers also began murmuring. The air grew tense with suspicion. But just as Aunt Lee was scolding, a man came running from the village entrance, panting and flustered. As he got closer, everyone recognized him. It was Aunt Lee's cousin from her mother's side. "Sister, bad news. Mother, she passed away this morning." At that moment, Aunt Lee felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Her legs went weak, and she had to be supported by the villagers on either side. The crowd erupted in astonishment. The earlier doubt and sneers instantly turned into awe and reverence. "He really is a master. Maybe he's a celestial being in disguise." Incredible. Truly incredible. The blind man, however, remained calm and composed, as if everything had unfolded just as he had expected. He sat there, gently shaking his little bronze bell, the faintest smile at the corner of his lips. From that day on, the blind fortune teller's fame spread throughout the village. In the days that followed, many came to him with their troubles. Some asked about business, some about marriage, others about property or children. The blind man would listen carefully, calculate briefly, and provide his answers, sometimes long, sometimes short. A young widow once came secretly with her small son, anxiously asking, "Master, will my family be safe this year?" The blind man listened quietly for a while, then nodded gently. "Don't worry. A benefactor will come to your aid before the year's end. Your hardships will pass." Sure enough, come autumn, a distant relative arranged work for her at a weaving workshop, allowing her to make ends meet. The villagers, seeing how the blind man's predictions repeatedly came true, regarded him with growing awe and fear. Even the most skeptical busybody, Aunt Wang, quietly arranged for someone to consult him for a marriage prospect. Then one day, the blind man vanished. No one knew when or where he had gone. Some said he left in the middle of the night. Others said he had been taken back by the heavens. Ever since, whenever people in the village spoke of him, they would sigh and say, "That blind man, he must have been a celestial being visiting the mortal world." And whenever Grandma told this story, she would always pat my head at the end, speaking half in wonder, half in warning. "There are strange and wondrous people in this world, my child. Always keep a respectful heart."